that also just made me think of another question I had, and I think I had emailed this early on, which was why I received the study schedule that I did. But yes, so I'm planning on taking the February LSAT Flex. I think I'm going to register later today, and with the hopes of being able to retake in April if I need to. So, right, and I know I've read again on your blog a few times that 3 months is kind of the minimum you recommend. Some students can or have done it in less, but that's typically the minimum. So I think I was just curious for more of your thoughts on, yes, going with the minimum, again, as someone who has not engaged with it before, if that's still, or if you have any new thoughts about that.
Sure. Well, February versus April is interesting because some folks might take February with the goal of still applying this cycle. Is that your thought, or would you apply in the fall?
Well, either way, I would be applying for fall 2021.
Okay, cool. Fantastic.
Yes.
So you'd be applying in the fall of 2021 to start law school fall 2022?
Or no, I'm sorry. I would be applying, I guess, by this spring. I think the deadline is June 2021 for fall 2021.
Okay, so you want to start law school approximately 6 months after the February LSAT?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so if that's the case, then that's a little bit late in the cycle. I certainly wouldn't that's already later than I would recommend, just because odds are a little bit lower. There is a little bit less scholarship money available. Just being honest about that to serve you best there. Yeah. So
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but then, so you would then say it would be better to, if I'm taking it in February and maybe even April, to then apply for the winter instead of the fall. I think that a couple of the schools I'm looking to apply to have an accelerated program you can apply to start in the winter term. If that sounds like a better option, perhaps.
Those programs would be unique to a particular school. They're not the default traditional option. So I would contact them and ask for details and ask about it. But typically, on average, applying earlier is better than applying later. This year's a little bit weird with COVID naturally. So applying in February could be okay. But typically, I'd recommend January be the latest that you take the LSAT to apply to start law school less than 1 year later.
I got, that's very interesting. I hadn't read anything related to this yet, or so no, that's extremely helpful. So wait, can you just repeat?
Sure.
So taking the LSAT at least a year before law school, that's kind of what you typically see or recommend?
Well, I'm saying it's ideal to take the LSAT no later than 8 months prior to when you would start law school. So if you were taking the LSAT in January of 2021, that would be fine to start law school in the fall of 2021, and you would apply immediately after getting your score back. Taking it in February of 2021 or April of 2021 to start law school that same fall puts you a little bit later in the cycle, which means there's less scholarship money available. Odds are a little bit lower. You might be better off waiting. And I know that nobody ever wants to hear that they would wait, but it might serve you best in the long run.
Absolutely. No, this is hugely helpful. Again, I still feel so new to all of this, doing so much research. So yes, no, I definitely appreciate any insight on the timeline. So I think, that will, I think also just be helpful in terms of, I think that's something else I've been thinking about a lot. It's yes, all of this very intense studying for the LSAT, but also in terms of getting an application together, a full application, essay, updating resume, all of these other elements that go into it. And don't want them to feel rushed or that they're not the best they can be. So, actually not rushing into it, it sounds like it would be for the best.
Yeah, as is so often the case. But what are your other obligations between now and February? Because it's possible that if you had the time, maybe you could get ready sufficiently in that time.
That's true. I mean, yes. So again, very long story short, I did working in the arts during COVID, lost my job a few months ago, which was very difficult, happening to lots of people. So similar to many others, taking a lot of time to sort of reevaluate, figure out what is coming next, and landed on this path with a specific area of law in mind. So I've kind of found a connection, a through line basically. So again, there's a lot that I don't know about the process, and have been doing my best to familiarize myself. So, and in terms of your question, yes, so I do have a lot of time right now to be studying, and yes, trying to make the most of it.
Cool. I mean, that's great to hear. I mean, it could be the silver lining to being in the arts industry and having a sudden open schedule. So yeah, I mean, you could, if you are able to put in 5-6 hours a day between now and February, it's possible that you could get a fantastic score between now and then over that approximate 3-month period. And so you could just register for February, give it your all, and then see where you're scoring in the lead up to that test date. And if you're not where you want to be, you can pull back and go for April instead potentially. But either way, I'd recommend ideally applying in the fall to start the following year. And you can reach out to schools about specific programs, but they're not the norm. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.